Yeah. If I die tomorrow, I hope you hear these words. I ain't here to flip no birds or sip no serve. Hope the future generations can get this urge. Stay woke, youngin', and avenge these nerds.
Welcome back to another episode of Nerds with the Rounds, guys. It's your host, Sebastian.
And your boy Tone from across the hall.
We are back and live from Nerd Studio, aka my house and Tone's house.
Yes, we are a 5-minute walk away from each other as opposed to across the hall, but the name still stays.
It will always stay, bro. It's not leaving you. So, quick announcements before we get into this jam-packed episode, because we have some beautiful people in the back ready to talk about WandaVision. In case, before we get into it, Tone, please give them the disclaimer.
Yes, and it's my first time since Endgame to do this for a Marvel property. We are going full spoilers for episodes 1 and 2 of the Disney Plus show WandaVision, which means Tony Stark has died. You've been warned.
He has died. But also too, guys, usually we do announcements in the beginning, like the Medusa's Cascade and Comic Cast. You guys can go into the descriptions below to actually check out all the nerdy stuff going on this week, all the nerd links, all the people with support. But without further ado, I want to bring out our guests right away so that this way we could start tackling this episode. So first off, I want to give it up to cosplayer extraordinaire, aka Teddy Ghul, and writer Jay Huwer. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's up?
I haven't seen you guys in a minute.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me that Tony Stark is dead?
Yes.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Oh my God, spoilers!
I didn't know we were spoiling things today.
Yeah, it is what it is.
We're a bundle. We're a bundle of joy and spoil.
If you weren't part of the cinematic event that was Endgame in theaters, I can't help you.
When we get into WandaVision, I'm going to share an Endgame story with you guys.
So I want to get into everyone's thoughts of WandaVision. I mean, I want to know how everybody felt. We'll start with Teddy. Go right ahead, get deep into it, brother. How did you feel about WandaVision?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was excited for it to the point that I abstain from watching trailers and stuff. I'm a big anti-spoiler guy, but I didn't want to watch anything, and I was excited for it. And what they delivered was far beyond expectations, and so I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved all the tropes that they did, all the Easter eggs. It was great.
Jay, as a writer,
Marvel's not afraid to take risks. And that's really what this is. This is a huge risk. It's a huge shot in the dark. I mean, the audience that they're aiming for is not the I Dream of Genie audience. and they went there, they hit it, and it really blew my mind. I was really happy with the way that it turned out. But the risk, I think, is the key. Is they just took a risk and it paid off.
Yeah, no, I definitely got to agree. It's like something they've never done before, and seeing the fact that all the time and effort they did to hit like these genre TV shows is just like there was so much research done. I loved how in the first episode you get like the Marvel Studios thing, which we haven't seen in a while, and then it turns to black and white, and we go to the 4:3 ratio, and just everything they did to bring you back to that era of television that some folks just don't even know what was about, where some of us were probably growing up watching reruns of some of these shows or seeing it on, Nick at Night and things like that. So it's really cool seeing it in a 2020, 2021 era with all the technology to visualize it.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to Jordan right here. Jordan, what's up? Check out his podcast on YouTube, guys. Real Reviews with Sitcom. But I like that, we got the reference of Dick Van Dyke and Bewitched, and they had Dick Van Dyke on set to help with referencing everything. Like even when Dick Van Dyke kind of trips over in the intro in his show on the Dick Van Dyke show over the Ottoman, you kind of got a nod with that with Vision when he's carrying Wanda, trips over the chair, but he stops, but then he faces right through. I was like, oh, that was pretty dope.
Yeah. Yeah, but they did that earlier when he walks to the door and then Wanda falls.
Yeah.
Well, even with that set, the foyer has that like little step down, and that was like, oh my god, that's Dick Van Dyke right there, and that was great.
Yeah, I think the set pieces they changed. So I think the first one was Dick Van Dyke. I think the second one was Bewitched. Or I Dream of Genie. So like, and just wondering like what different set pieces they're going to take as they go through these decade genres, because they did 50s, 60s, and now with Technicolor we're seeing the 70s in episode 3.
Now I want to touch up on something. I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. Was that even though before we start getting even some more stuff, was the camera work that you noticed that most of the first and second episode were kind of filmed in that classic sitcom feeling. You got that with the camera work, but then when we got like serious moments, like for example when Mr. Hart was choking at the table, and that point when Wanda saw the guy in the beekeeper's uniform crawl out of the sewer, the camera work all changed and kind of gave a different feeling where it got real serious. How did you guys feel about that? Did you notice that in the show?
Yeah, definitely.
Who wants to go first?
I deferred.
definitely picked up on that, and there's like, we were watching it in that framework of the whole letterbox, and it was still in the letterbox when they shifted angles, but and then when you saw Wanda's eyes gaze off as she was like confused and trying to understand where she was, why she was there, and then it did the close up of Mr. Hart, and it was like the way it shot that, it was like, okay, now she's starting to become a little bit more conscious, and there's something going on here. It's not just they're not just ripping on all these 50s and 60s 70s satires.
Yeah, the camera work definitely, like the way they hit home on the old style, the single camera shot, the 3-4 wall, however you want to look at it. Somebody studied this. Somebody sat down. It wasn't just like, oh, let's play homage to these shows. They studied how the show was put together. That way, on something simple, like what's really simple but yet so complex, like just the change in filming style, or the way they would zoom in onto something that's just suddenly of color. Subtleties like that, changing the camera work, it's impactful in a way that just, without studying the old styles that they used, you wouldn't notice it. And it's probably subtle enough that many people didn't notice it and didn't pick up on it.
Well, we're gonna tag your tag team partner in this, Jay. Welcome
Is he
to
here?
the
He
fray.
made it. There he is.
This is Kip Stevens.
Let's see if this is working. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can hear you, brother. How
I
you
can hear
doing?
So be warned, this show is filled with spoilers, even though Teddy doesn't like spoiling things. Just
Wait.
Well, I made a special
So,
exception for just so I could be here.
We're just gonna warn you. Tony Stark died.
Yeah.
as long as Bruce Willis is
Stop.
alive, then we're okay.
well, he did go into a Rite Aid once without a mask.
So, Francis, tell us, Francis, how did you feel about the whole WandaVision and everything? We all went around. So, tell us what was your take on all that, seeing the show and everything?
Okay, well, I'll give a preamble first. Did anybody discuss the big gap between the Marvel movies to WandaVision? Because before going in, I'm not gonna lie, I had to do kind of a little bit of a recap. Like, hey, didn't Vision die, or did he come back, and what was up with Wanda? So that was something that I personally had to do, even though I loved Endgame. I had to have that refresher going in. And I would imagine for people, it might have been a little jarring. Well, what's going on now that all of a sudden they're in the 50s and stuff like that? So that was the first part going into this. I'm going to say this. I enjoyed it, but I could see how people would be lost by those first 2 episodes. Like, what's going on? How did they get here? Why all of a sudden are they in the 50s? But I think we've seen this from Marvel storytelling throughout the years. They're giving us little breadcrumbs. And I thought what was great about the first 2 episodes is, just as a show, you had like the laugh moments from the 50s sitcom and the 60s sitcom, but you would have those little moments that let you know something big is coming down the line. When Vision's boss was choking, and you could kind of be like, wait, what's going on here? You know that's going to be something important. Same thing in the second episode where Wanda, she picks up that helicopter that has that logo on it, and that's the only thing in color. You know that's important. You don't know why yet, but you know it's important. And I think what's going to make me enjoy the series is toward the end, it's going to be a big aha, so that's what that meant. That's what that meant. But along the way, as long as you're enjoying what's happening, you're along for the ride as well.
I like that you came in there with the nuggets and everything, because like this is one of the first nuggets I want to tackle is August 23rd. I want to know what everyone thinks what August 23rd meant to them. We'll start with you, Jay.
What's August 23rd?
August 23rd in WandaVision, what was circled on the calendar in the first episode.
Oh, the day Mr. Hart's coming over? Was that the day Vision died?
The Mr. Hart.
Was that the day Tony Stark died? I mean, there's a significance with the heart. Oh wait, I'm spoiling everything.
Spoil away.
So I do think that there is significance there. I'm just sitting back, and honestly, I wasn't thinking about it when I was watching it. I wasn't looking at every little detail and saying, "Oh, what's that? What's that? What's that?" Because you get lost in a moment when you do that. You get lost in the show. Going back the second time, I looked at it and I was like, I wonder what more so, I think less what the date is and more what the significance of the heart might be, and why Wanda and Vision both kind of seem to forget that day. So to me, that's the day of the inciting trauma, right? So when you're looking at August 23rd on a calendar, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, to Kip's point, I would have to go back and really stare at Endgame, because I think Endgame would be the key to that. Is that the day of the snap? Is that the day, the day of the snap is the day Vision died. So I would go back, and if they would put a date on that, I bet it was August 23rd, the day her heart was destroyed.
So what's interesting about that too, in regards to the day of the snap, is that we know some info about the day of the snap, is that we know it happened during like a calendar school year, because in Far From Home, when they talk about it, kids are just playing basketball and then they're just like, boom, gone. And I'm wondering, what I wonder what Marvel's doing is like they're just throwing in like a bunch of little nuggets in there, because this is Wanda's world that she's created, this perfect world that she has, and we're getting a lot of these like nuggets and Easter eggs for us, the viewer. And then there's other things in there, like the breadcrumbs that Kip had said, that are like going to be legitimate pieces. Some of the cameos and some of the signs that we see in episode 2 opener, I doubt we're going to see some of those characters. So it's good more for like the Keen Eyed fans who are like, oh, they did this or they did that, but they're like little things that really mean something, and just trying to pick what's a red herring for us and what's really going to happen down the line of the series.
Jay Hash has a question for you.
I know him. Listen, man, I got to point out the backlighting does nothing but hide my stellar features, because if everyone got stuck staring at my mini screen, we wouldn't be talking about anything. They wouldn't understand what we were talking about, because they'd be mesmerized by my stellar good looks. And we really can't have that happening during the show. So I don't want to take away from Seb here. I don't want to take away from Teddy.
I'll give you the short answer. He wants to be a secret character tonight. That's it.
I like my answer.
Teddy, what was your thoughts on the 23rd, August 23rd? Give me your thoughts on that.
Who are we going with?
Well, the August 23rd date. What was the significance for you?
So I'm not sure about August 23rd, because, like we said, the snap most likely occurred during the school year. Like I was looking up, and they're estimating around October that it happened. But yeah, I was trying to look up like if it's Earth 823 or stuff like that. Didn't really get much anywhere. It talked about Mysterio a lot. Ooh, talked about Mysterio.
Ooh. Well, they said that there's going to be some stuff leading into Spider-Man after this, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Interesting. Then that would definitely be it. I mean, I don't think that's what's going on with the series. I think that it's a manifestation of Wanda, as I think we all do here. But yeah, I couldn't really get anywhere with 823.
Kip?
So I'm probably the novice comic person in this conversation. So the 823 didn't resonate with me. But speaking to what everybody was just saying, what happened at Endgame and the Infinity War with the snap, that's a huge life moment. And for them to not be acknowledging that, I think is the more important part of this conversation right now. It's almost, and this is just a theory I have. We're in theory corner already, folks. Like, it seems that she's creating this idyllic world. She doesn't want to remember the snap. She doesn't want to remember the loss of Vision because it was a huge traumatizing event. So for her to just be not acknowledging that something like that happened, and for her to think like, why are we forgetting today's, like what happened, like why this is an important date, I think that's going to play into it. I'm not saying that's the day the snap officially happened or not, but I think what we touched upon is the whole lack of memory of something important. That is the bigger breadcrumb, than not necessarily the date.
Yeah, because I think there's going to be, to your point, there's going to be a lot with that breadcrumb there. But these were some interesting theories because I'm going to now jump on my Pepe Sylvia moment. And I'm going to thank Tone for introducing me to Pepe Sylvia. It's your fault, Tone.
Yeah. It's a great show on FX.
August 23rd, someone was like, it can possibly be a nod to the fact that Marvel has done 23 films. But then when you add the fact that it's on August 8th, it's a reference to Avengers 238 when Vision regains his consciousness in the comics, which I was like, that would be interesting if that's a reference right there, which is going into Strucker's watch. When you look at the time on that was on the watch in the second episode, the time was on 242, which is a reference to issue 242 when Vision and Wanda rejoined the Avengers. So like you said, there's a lot of little small nuggets, and it's like, okay, I gotta be like Alice, I gotta dive down this rabbit hole, figure out what the hell's going on. But how did you guys feel about those infomercials and everything that was going on with that? Like what overall aching storyline do you think was going on with these infomercials? What hints did you feel like were being done there?
With the Tony Stark toaster?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially, Tony Stark toaster.
Howard Stark back then.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Stark toaster. All right. It was all Howard.
It's a start.
It's a Stark who created Vision, didn't he? I mean, as long as we're inventing things, we got a new invention of a toaster that heats things in the oven like meatloaf.
Stark toasters. Stark toasters, the king of the north of toasters. Oh wait, wrong reference.
Wrong Stark.
Stark had to do it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would totally buy a toaster that whenever I pressed the thing down and my bread came up, I got the arc reactor sound. So I would totally get one of those.
I'm
you
glad
have
you picked up on that.
Too, and like the heart rate monitor to tell you.
Yeah.
I love that though. Like it was just when the toaster was going down, I'm like, that sounds like Iron Man powering up.
Yeah.
And that's where we talk about these little breadcrumbs. Like they keep on hinting at, that was such like a big part of the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe, that sound. It was iconic. And they keep on dropping these little hints, but they aren't talking about the snap at all. And that's where it's almost like these little things from her memory are just popping up here and there. Stark, the sound, Hydra, like
wait. Are they memories or are they actions happening? Because we're all in we're all in agreement. This is happening inside of her head. I think that's like the big thing going on there. So when you're dealing with, brain stuff, brain trauma, you bring in sounds from the outside world trying to jog her memory, which we've heard voices, we've heard people calling her, we've seen the footage from the camera at the end of the first episode. So who's to say that sound is a nod? That sound could very easily be almost like a shock, like paddles to the brain, trying to shock her out of, maybe she's in a coma, that's where we're lost. Maybe they're trying to revive her in some sense because she's You know, would we, knowing the comics like we know them, would we be surprised if suddenly we get a view of the outside world and there's a giant, massive apocalyptic event happening because she's losing her mind and taking that on the world while her perfect brain is this is me literally talking off the cuff.
No, it makes sense what you're saying, because Brian Michael Bendis and other people were already referenced as a thank you in the actual credits, not the fake credits, the actual credits. And one of the creators that was thanked was behind Avengers Disassembled, which, if you remember, Avengers Disassembled was the storyline that she was going mad and actually even killed Hawkeye in that storyline.
Oh, poor Hawkeye. He was not missed. I'm sorry. I'm on record saying that.
But go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just saying, like, but to everyone's point of like bringing things in from the real world that she's dealing with, she's clearly trying to build this perfect world. Like, you may notice, I don't know if anyone caught it, like when Vision goes into the kitchen and the plate goes against his head and it breaks, she's like, "Oh, my husband with his indestructible head." Yeah, that didn't work in
his head wasn't so indestructible.
His head wasn't so indestructible. So it's just
hold on. More importantly than that, all right, you want to play the whole thing. Now, throughout that whole first episode, the most telling thing was the idea, and this goes to the plate, so just give me a second to get to that, but she's literally hanging on by a thread. Everything's going crazy. Everything's falling apart. Her perfect world, the boss, the wife, everything's going wrong, and she's fractured like the plate. So you're dealing with her trying her best to keep the world perfect, and like as she's losing control, the world literally starts shaking.
Yeah.
But the plate at the beginning, to go right back to that, she shatters it. It's fractured. It's broken. And what does she do? She pieces it right back together. She pulls it all together back into its perfect world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even in that first episode, Mr. Hart is yelling and screaming at her, at them, like, "There's so much chaos in this house."
Yes. Yes. Mr. Hart was which again, we got to give a shout out to, it was Fred Millen who played Arthur Hart, which is a possible nod to Steve Englehart, who was the creator, one of the creators behind the 1985 Vision and Wanda limited series, which this show is also based off of. And each actor, each role that they played, which we have Katherine Hine, who's Agnes, it's hinted to be Agatha Harkness. Tanya Paris, who came in episode 2, which is Monica Rambeau, who we all remember. Monica Rambeau was in Captain Marvel as a little girl when we last saw her, and even like the character who played Dave. Was it Dave? No. It was Dave, possible Herbert Wyndham. David Payton, who played Herb, who's a possible nod to Herbert Edgar Wyndham, who was the High Evolutionary. So like each actor, from what I saw, it's like there's a little thing about their characters that's a little nod. I mean, do you guys think we're going to see more of that as we get introduced to more characters with the way how Marvel is explaining this?
I think we are. I mean, I don't know how true it is, but apparently we may just get a surprise actor of Evan Peters potentially showing up in WandaVision, and maybe being his version of Pietro, which would be really fascinating. And this kind of got leaked because a Spanish actor said he's doing his voice in WandaVision. And I didn't even know that was a rumor until like today, like just kind of looking stuff up before we went on air, which I think will be really fascinating if they start connecting those dots of different characters, especially they bringing in like the Fox X-Men character and kind of using him as the Pietro, maybe, or using him, as like maybe her kid or something. I'm not sure how they're going to bring him in, or a manifestation of her brother who she lost. So it'll be interesting on how they do that.
Kip.
So everything that you said, it's fascinating, and I gotta give credit to Jay, the writer of the group, talking about like the plate shattering and that's your world coming apart. Like that's extra deep stuff. I mean, my big thing is, and Seb, that was amazing research and amazing background. Do you think that a lot of this stuff will go over the casual viewer's head? I'm going to throw that question out to everybody else, because somebody like me, like I'm all in on Marvel, and I have like I remember House of M, and I remember Avengers Disassembled to a point. I understand Wanda's powerful, but I don't know how powerful, and I'm hoping that this series will really illuminate that. But you're talking about like these little references to like a comic book series that happened in the 80s and things like that. Do you think that these little nuggets are going to go over too many people's head and it's going to lose people along the way?
In my person, because I think they're mixing from all the way to the 80s to now, because the story also follows the Vision storyline, which they did in 2016, where Vision created his own family, like a picture perfect family, which is also referenced in the credits when you see Grim Reaper's in the intro in the second episode. You see Grim Reaper's bones and his helmet buried in the when Vision goes to the floor, because he gets killed by his wife in that series. I think what they're doing is that as we get each episode, the casual fan is going to learn more about the character. But all these Easter eggs, I think, is keeping fans who know about the character and everything. Because because I was sold on the second episode. The minute that she did that whole thing where she rewound time when the guy came out with the beekeeper uniform, and then she's like, no, this is not right, and rewound, I was like, oh, she's in full control. And she's going nuts right now.
All right.
So
go ahead.
I was going to say, because the big thing Tony mentioned was about Quicksilver. Now, I remember Wanda and Quicksilver having a very tight relationship from the comics, but I don't think the Marvel Cinematic Universe really keyed in on how intense that relationship is. So the question then, too, is, let's just say Quicksilver does make an appearance. Is that going to resonate with the majority of people watching?
All right. I promised the story. I'm not. I did because the story is so relevant to everything Kip's saying. Because Kip's bringing up a fantastic point, and I think it's the core problem with the show at this point. Not that, Seb, you also pointed out it took you till the end of the second episode to be all in. Now, I when Endgame came out, I saw Endgame quite a few times in theaters, and one of my crowning moments was my oldest daughter. This is the horrible part. She broke her arm, and I had to take her. Like, we took a day off of school. I had to take her to the doctor. I'm like, let's go see Endgame. So that was selfish of me because I was going to take her to see her first ever Marvel movie. Now, the whole point of this is she had no idea what was going on. She literally sat there. And she enjoyed her time because, we got to spend time together. But we left that movie. I'm like, what'd you think? She's like, I didn't like it. And I'm like, what? I can understand it. Because she didn't know she really needed to at least watch Infinity War. And even then, she would still have trouble following along. So that brings us here where we're at with WandaVision. Mm-hmm. The first episode jumps into this old 60s television show. Was the 60s, 50s, wherever we're at, an old style television show, but never in the episode did they actually give the casual viewer, a new viewer. Think about it. This is Disney Plus's very first go at Marvel Cinematic Universe. So you have an automatic audience in us, the people who have followed the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then you have the COVID audience, this audience that's craving new material and has not seen movies in a long time, hasn't seen a Marvel movie, hasn't seen anything. And this is, new to Disney Plus. This is their first view for a lot of people, their first intro into the Marvel universe. They don't know who these characters are. And nowhere in the episode did they give you an introduction to who these characters actually are. And that, to me, is a major flaw, because if you don't know, when you think about any movie, any television show, they start out with a big bang, like a big hook. This show's hook was nostalgia for an audience that's not 12 and 13 years old. The 12 and 13-year-old audience is turning off the channel the second it's black and white. They're not going to give it till the end of the second episode when the beekeeper comes out and all of a sudden everything goes in color. That's not the audience that's going to be watching this show. But in there, if they had gotten to know, this woman Wanda is a witch who has this massive power. Even if they had given a 30-second recap of the end where Vision gets his skull ripped open by Thanos, and then they snap, like mirroring the Thanos snap, and now you're in Wanda's universe. You have an introduction to who these characters are.
I think because I get your point, both of the points, but I think what Marvel did with that before the episode was launched, they released a series. It's a mini series called Marvel Legends.
Which I didn't
So
watch.
yeah, it's like a lot of people missed it, which is something
Yeah.
they need to advertise more, because the first 2 episodes for Legends, each episode was 8 minutes. The first episode recapping everything about the Scarlet Witch, recapping the next episode, recapping everything about Vision that's happened from the beginning to the end in their introduction into the MCU. So anyone who's listening, if they're confused with the characters, I would recommend to definitely double check and watch Marvel Legends.
Yeah.
They told a great story in 8 minutes than what DC did in Batman versus Superman, in my opinion. And that's not a pot shot.
But to Jay's point, with the COVID audience and like this being Marvel's first foray into Disney Plus, their first show was supposed to be Winter Soldier and Falcon, which would have given any casual viewer kind of the basic understanding of what was going on, just because we kind of know what the Falcon and Winter Soldier is about. Versus WandaVision's like one of these things where Marvel, I think at this point in this cinematic universe, has decided to throw out the fact that you need to know what's going on, and we're not going to spoon feed you information, which is kind of why Endgame worked and why Infinity War works, because we all knew, and you've got 10 years of content to build up and to do that. But to your story, Jay, when your daughter hasn't watched the movies, it's kind of like, what the hell was this orgy fest of action was like? I don't get it. So yeah,
Right.
it's just
Yeah.
the choice
You have
was.
to remember, like, and it's like, creating 101.
Yeah.
Everything's somebody's first. I think that's a Stan Lee line. Everything is somebody's first, and this is somebody's first foray into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And they did a good job with the 616, but I don't know many people that are going to be like, oh, let me just watch that first. I think a lot of people, especially new viewers, as sad as it is to say, because it's a fantastic show, they're going to be turned off.
But I will say this, to their credit, they definitely threw us into the deep end, but I'm intrigued, and I'm going to stay along for the whole ride. Not just because I'm a completist, but like they did enough where I was still laughing at the gags. I was still seeing the little bit of progression from the 50s Dick Van Dyke era to the 60s Bewitched era, and now we're going to the color 70s, probably Brady Bunch era. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting to see, like, you're getting enough. But like I said, I agree that they definitely threw us into the deep end. Seb, we got to put you on the Disney payroll, because I had no idea.
I'll take Disney money.
Yeah, why the heck not? At least some stock options, because you right there have me intrigued to watch this Legends show. And that's what I think is great about Marvel at times, is that even though, like, I'll put myself on the casual side, if there's something I'm not sure about, I'll want to research it a little bit. And right there with Disney Plus, I have something that I didn't know that. That's awesome. And I hope that more people take advantage of that, because then I think that's going to, you can enjoy it just on the base level, I feel like. But I also feel like once you get a little bit more like, oh, that's right, that's what happened with Vision. Oh, wow. Like, I didn't know how awesome Wanda was. You're going to be even more hooked. So that's where I think it's a kind of a cool dichotomy of what they did and what they can do with this.
That's what's fun about the that Legends show is like I've been saying that I'm an anti-spoiler guy, so I waited till after I watched WandaVision, the first 2 episodes, to watch it, because I knew it was about Wanda and Vision. So because like I was worried about like if there's going to be behind the scenes stuff, where the characters are going, this and that. I watched Legends, and it was basically a WWE promo package for the
pay-per-view. Now we're getting my language. What was this now?
It told you everything that already happened. The progression of the characters to set you up for the main event.
You labeled it perfectly, Teddy. Aurelius, Mr. Delgado, you got a question. Do you think that they're introducing Mojo World once we get the X-Men? Possibly, depending on when we get the X-Men, but you just started something with this, because when we got the introduction for Sword, so I'm going to explain to everyone what Sword is. In the comics, Sword is an offshoot of SHIELD, which stands for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. But for the MCU, they're known as the Sentient Weapon Observation Response Division. The history behind Sword, how they were introduced in the comics, they were introduced in the Astonishing X-Men one from Josh Whedon and Cassidy. So do you guys think that this is, just by that introducing Sword, do you think that this is a backdoor with opening up for introductions to the X-Men? And we will start with Teddy, because you got lost in that Royal Rumble earlier, brother.
This whole WandaVision, all I'm waiting for is just to have her say, "There shall be mutants." Sort of a spin on the House of M, that she said there shall be no more mutants, no new mutants. But I definitely think that it's they're gonna try to work something in. They already have with the Grim Reaper helmet and Agnes and a couple of the other stuff. So I think so. Hope so, anyway.
Francis?
Yeah, I kind of feel going into this that the end result is going to be bringing mutants into the MCU. I think this would be the great way to do it because, again, like you have this huge platform with Disney Plus. I have a feeling it's leading there. My asinine theory was I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Magneto is the first mutant introduced because of his ties to Wanda. And maybe the voice reaching out is the father looking for the daughter. Like, that could be something interesting. Now, again, this is totally out of left field. It probably makes no sense to everybody because, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I could see something like Magneto being the first mutant introduced because Wanda needs somebody, a connection to somebody, her brother or her father. That's just kind of where I see this going. It'd be awesome. It's going to Teddy's theory of, like, we need mutants, the last thing, and then that's how the series ends. I'd be hooked. But I honestly feel like this is we're planting the seeds to get the mutants in the MCU.
Why Magneto? Why not Professor Xavier? I mean, Professor X would be the guy. Again, you got to go back. This is her head. This is her vision. This is her dream. Vision. Fun. This is in her brain. Well, which mutant is going to be the one? We bring in Charles Xavier, and he's going to be, I can see him standing over her, his hands out, trying to draw and piece her brain back together again.
Maybe that's Cerebro trying to get, like, he's in Cerebro right now trying to reach her, and that's the voices she's hearing. It's Xavier reaching out through Cerebro. I mean,
Jocasta.
Ooh.
Oh, there you go. Sorry,
but Xavier and Magneto are friends, and I think both you, Kip and Teddy, are onto some great points.
So with the whole Sword thing, I kind of went a different direction because I was kind of thinking back to the post-credit scene in Spider-Man, and where the Skrulls are at, and how it's theorized that could be a Sword operations base, and if that has something to do with the Sword connection here in WandaVision, and also here, like, I was trying to figure out who's a part of Sword. So is Monica Rambeau a part of Sword and got involved with Sword because her mother because her mom knows Captain Marvel, right? Like, did she become a part of that? And also, we also hear in the radio that's calling to her, apparently from external research from other people, not myself. We hear the voice of Randall Park, who is Jimmy Woo, who's an Ant-Man and the Wasp. So is he an operative of Sword? And because Sword is more about weapons, was he focused on Ant-Man because of the pin particles and those weapons? And so were they the ones kind of keeping track of all that? So kind of see, like, this direction of, like, is it mutants? Is it more so akin to what Nick Fury and the Skrulls are doing and how Monica Rambeau is involved? Just, like, it's all tossed up in the air.
Well, at what point did Sword become a space force? Because I believe that became a thing, right?
It was originally in the comics. They were the interstellar version of SHIELD.
Yes.
But it sounds like they repurposed them for the show because they're now called the Sentient Weapon Observation and Response Division, meaning that they're now looking at living weapons.
They rebranded.
Yeah, they rebranded. They changed their image.
Yeah, they rebranded. That's what they did.
They pull a Cutco. But
Yeah.
I wanted to, and this is what I want to throw in there too, again with mutants, because the bottle of wine, I think, even played a significance because it was translated. I'm not going to even say what the name of the bottle of wine was because I cannot pronounce it for the life of me, and Tony knows I can't pronounce shit. But the translation for the bottle is House of Misery, which can be a possible reference for House of M, which I feel, again, we are getting this lead into mutants when it comes to that. But and I just there's just so much to cover. I mean, did you guys notice the different because they introduced Sword 3 times with the beekeeper, but someone pointed out something interesting since it was like a beekeeper outfit. Do you think that that's also an introduction to AIM since that's what they look like in the comics? We'll start with you, Jay.
I could see that. That was actually where my mind had gone when the beekeeper came out. That just pulled up AIM right there, which again supports like the whole deeper Sword Hydra connections to everything going in and expanding the universe, because I think that's coming no matter which way this show goes. Mutants, more factions. I see that going in that direction. But my first instinct with the beekeeper was AIM.
Kip?
Not gonna lie, the beekeeper thing went totally over my head. For me, the more significant thing was, like you mentioned, where she's like, no, this is not right, and went backwards in time. So that's where, as a viewer, I'm interested to see what this beekeeper thing means. So I appreciate the explanation from Jay, and like, if anybody wants to throw more insight into that, I'm all for it. The one thing I will say, to touch on everyone's point too, and this is gonna go, Teddy's gonna love this. There's a WWE writer who does a podcast. His name is Kazim, and he always says like WWE will put things like pretty much in plain sight for you, like, and to let you know that something is coming. And that's where I think that wine bottle played significance. Like, it's almost like they deliberately, if they didn't want that in the trailer, it wouldn't have been in the trailer. But I think they put it in there to get this chat group, pardon the phrase, boned up for what's coming at the end of it. But if anybody wants to add to the beekeeper, please, like, what else do you guys think about it? Because I want to be educated as much as possible, because I know that's significant, but I don't know why.
Teddy, tagging you in now.
Yeah, I don't have much to add for me. Sorry.
It's all good.
I might realm a little bit.
But I want to touch up on, again, we had the indie intro. Yeah, I love you, Jira. What's up, brother? Make sure you guys go check out Comic Cast. They have a dope show, comes out every Sundays in LED. He gets to let it out. Jero gets to draw with awesome artists. But I wanted to touch up on the song that was playing, which was the Beach Boys. Help Me, Rhonda. Mm-hmm. And I want to read you guys the lyrics, and the lyrics that were specifically playing or are linked in this song is she was gonna be my wife and I was gonna be her man, but she let another guy come between us and it shattered our plans. What do you guys think that was in reference to? Because again, I feel like everything's chosen for a reason, and I have my theory on that.
Thanos ripping the stone out of Vision's head.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's the only man that got between her and him.
And shattered. I mean,
even the name, it sounds Wanda sounds pretty similar too.
Yeah. You know what? Yeah.
I think we're all in agreement with that. Unless you want to say it was Cap because Cap called him to duty.
Well, speaking
Don't
of
sour Cap's name, right. What is wrong with you?
But speaking of Cap, but I mean, you all hit it right there. It's like, yeah, Thanos got in the way. He was like, yo, smack that. But no, to Kip, you're right. There are some references to Cap in here. If you notice in the beginning, did anyone catch the real estate sign the real estate sign in the first episode had a 732 area code?
Yeah, Jersey.
second episode when they're like, oh yeah, the guy got the trophies in Hackensack. So because again, I'm Pepe Sylvia at this. The base where Captain America, which was confirmed in Winter Soldier, is stationed in New Jersey, which was what was it? It was called the God damn it.
That wasn't Lehigh, right?
Camp Lehigh. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Lehigh. Yeah, okay.
So I mean, how did you guys feel about that little reference right there? That little nod.
I kind of went there. Maybe it'll expand on something later on, but for now, it's just, yeah, that's Jersey. This is Jersey.
I just took that one in stride. I was just like, yeah, that's a nice little nod to the base.
But then I'm gonna throw something else at you guys. Who do you think Ralph is? Kip? Who's this Ralph for Agnes, her husband?
And that's like the $1 million question right there. When you said who's Ralph, I'm like, I have no idea, but obviously that's going to be somebody important. Now, going to more theories though, Agnes is somebody important in the whole WandaVision story, but I'm not the expert on it. I'm going to throw it to the floor. Explain who we think Agnes could be first, and then maybe that can give us a clue to who Ralph could be.
Well, I got to tell you, with Ralph, I went to the honeymooners. That's every time she said Ralph, my mind went straight to the honeymooners because that was the way she said it, the tone I was just like, ooh, that's
oh, you're right. It was. And just bang, boom.
Yeah, that's exactly, and that's where my mind went. She's just like, hey Ralph. I'm like, oh, I can't even do it because
that was straight honeymooners reference right there.
It felt that way to me, so I couldn't. I had a hard time getting past the honeymooners on that. As bad as it is, every time she said it, I'm just like, that's so amazing. What a wonderful nod to a show that nobody watches anymore, except on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, right.
Agnes, though, that's a whole different story. I don't know who Agnes is. I got nothing. I think
so. One thing with Agnes though is that she references the date June 2nd, and June 2nd is the date of the first indictment for the Salem witch trials. So there is a chance that she is in fact a witch.
Tone, you want to take that one?
I've got who Ralph is, and that's what I'm thinking based off what I've been reading. If you want to take who we believe Agnes is.
Okay, so Agnes, Pete.
All right,
Pete.
Pete.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Pete. Spoiler: he pulled the Tony Stark.
We're all dancing around the subject. He just goes for it. The only one to answer the direct question here.
Yes,
he answered it for us.
Yes. We all think it's Agatha, and we think that Ralph is Mephisto, and that is the reason why she's subconsciously trying to get Wanda pregnant. So use the twins as his for his soul. Or as one of the videos I watched, Screen Crush, his Huckruxes. Huckruxes.
Fucking Voldemort. That's what he is.
Now we're Harry Pottering this? I thought this was about Wandavision.
But yeah.
Where's Dumbledore?
There he goes. No slow booking here. Yeah, we know a lot about booking, bro. But no, it's like Agnes is Agatha Harkness. Yeah, I'll say that 5 times fast. There you go. If you notice her brooch on her necklace, her brooch, it could be the symbol of Hecate, which again is who riches and all that praise. So we're not going to get into all that, but Ralph can be a code name for Mephisto, who we know is the devil in Marvel. And at the end of episode 2, we now see Wanda pregnant, which one of the cool theories that people were pointing out was that there was a lot of twin representation in the show to kind of how do you say that, foreshadow that she's going to have twins. Like, for example, the 2 lobsters, the 2 loaves of bread, and going back to that Tony Stark toaster. Tony Stark in the MCU, we know, breathed life into the body of Vision by transferring Jarvis into the body of Vision. Hence, and then the 2 slices of toast, hence the twins and all that, and breathing life. The 2 beds, and the other thing was the furniture in 2. So how do you guys feel about that being kind of like a whole slow burn, like how Pete would put it, slow burn to the book in here. We'll start with you, Jay.
It's definitely something that it's one of those moments that Kip was saying before. It's something to look back on. If it proves that she does have twins, then yeah, that's definitely all put out there, like almost an in your face type of moment. And it's super subtle. So I like the thinking there. The twin beds becoming one bed. That's its own little thing.
Teddy?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said with the toast, it may be bread and toast, but it's also like having two buns in the oven. Right there.
I like the play in words.
Very true.
Kip, I want you to nosedive into this, throwing this all out there at you, throwing you the Hail Mary pass. Come on, give me your thoughts on that theory and everything, and finding out about her twins.
So I think that Marvel, nothing is just like casually done. I think everything is a deliberate decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm buying into that 2 loaves of bread thing. Bring on 2 loaves of bread, bring on 2 babies. And wasn't Wanda and Quicksilver twins also?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go. Like, if he makes an appearance, we're going back to the 2 things. Maybe that's also foreshadowing him coming back as well. I think that when they were putting this show together, like nothing was left to chance. I think they were like, we can, like, why is it just be 1? No, let's make it 2. Let's drop these little things. I think everything has been a deliberate decision. And that's why I'm excited to see how the show progresses and, culminates, because every little thing is going to be like, oh my God, how did we not see this coming? Which is, I think, a really great work of writing right there.
Yeah.
Now, what if
pick up on that?
Go ahead.
Just to follow up on how deliberate everything is in the show, all the references and the writing, just everything Agnes says is very deliberately worded. She says, "Oh, it'll be done in a snap," which can be taken and interpreted as Thanos' snap. She says, she gives her the recipes and the cooking utensils, right, and says, "The devil's in the details." So, and then talking about like Glamorous magazine and Glamour. That's not just like a beauty thing. That's supposed to be a charm. Oh, she even said when she introduced herself, she said "charmed." So, but yeah, Glamour is like a spell caster or something.
What if it wasn't twins? What if the doubles that we're looking at is less twin children and instead twin worlds?
That's another thing. They're talking about that the show, because the next movie is coming out
Yep.
that's going to deal with the multiverse is Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. And they've already said that WandaVision is going to kind of open this up for the multiverse.
And Doctor Strange is supposedly confirmed to be appearing in this show?
Not confirmed, but she is confirmed to be in the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
What was that, Pete? Many times as Wanda needs to be told to do things such as the triggers. Yep. She has a lot of triggers in the show. And it's like you could see when she just like pauses and everything, especially like, did you guys notice one of the triggers when Dottie cut her hand and then you just saw the blood and that was emphasized as red, and then just everything that was going on there in that scene?
Yeah.
What was your guys' overall
moment there too?
But thinking, Steve, that's what you're saying. Everyone was saying with triggers and stuff. Just she's doing everything she can, like, to keep this world intact. When Mr. Hart's dying, and like she pretty much breaks character and talks to Vision for him to do his Neo thing, to pull the piece of meat out. Or when they're at the magic show and she sees Vision, with the gum inside of him, just kind of going about with his magic, and she's just like, I need to keep this world together, otherwise it's gonna fall apart. So like, yeah, just seeing everything just triggering her to realize I'm in control. I don't want to lose it, because this is like her paradise, because the person she loves is here, and not wanting to lose that or just come to terms with the fact that Vision is gone.
Yeah, Pete's pointing out to this whole thing, says that she has a substantial amount of control, such as rewinding time when the beekeeper arrives, but many times she needs to be she needs to be told to do things, such as stop the choking. The wife, which kept telling him to stop it and repeating it directly in her face. So yeah, no, that was again, those moments too were filmed differently from how the episode was being filmed entirely, which I thought was really cool because it just gave that moment of seriousness. Now, I want to ask, did everyone notice the Mind Stone on the
cabinet?
the magic box that people were they were going to use for the magic show? Did you guys notice that? Whoever wants to take that first, please jump in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there was another part where I don't know if it was in one of the advertisements or just something in the sky, and it had like the 6 stars around it, and that seemed like a little.
That was the intro.
The intro.
Yeah, it had the moon, and then it goes blink, 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 blink.
Yep.
And it had the 6 Infinity Stones.
Yeah, and again, like very deliberate right there. Great job, Marvel. But just that, and then putting the stone right there on the cabinet, that was obviously done for a reason, and I absolutely loved it, and I was glad I caught that too.
Jay, jump right in.
I just love the magic scene. I mean, that whole bit going through it just had me on the ground rolling. I mean, the stone's there, again, those little nods, but the Bewitched, the I Dream of Jeannie, just the haha, it's really happening. Like it brings me back to, reruns on Channel 11 when I'm growing up.
I loved how much they committed to, Nick at Night or TV Land reruns, and just like Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie, like you said, and Dick Van Dyke so far, and we got more satires and parodies to come. But like the intros of the second episode, all in cartoon and clearly referencing Bewitched, and even the cadence that Wanda has, it's like a 1960s housewife that you would see on a sitcom, and the way she has that pratfall into Hart's arms of just that whoosh backwards in her arms. And I was like, oh my god, I could see Meredith Tyler doing that.
So the big question I have for everybody, and you touched upon something really great here, Teddy, and I don't want to age us, but it seems like we're all above the age of 30. Is that fair to say?
I try to hide my age. I try to hide it all the time.
Yeah. So here's something that I think we all agree with. Like we grew up with Nick at Night, and when they would have like the Dick Van Dyke Show on, and Bewitched, and sitcoms of that nature.
Yeah.
Now the Marvel Cinematic Universe, though, it's been around for about 10 years. So the people growing up with it are probably, in their teens to early 20s. Do you think these little 60s and 50s sitcom bits and the Nick at Night nostalgia that we have, do you think that's resonating with a younger audience?
That's going to be interesting to see, because I know that's definitely something catering to a lot of the older audience. I think with the younger audience, it's going to be more about the storytelling. And I mean, I'm not going to try to say that younger people don't because there's a lot of content out there. But I feel like when more and more episodes come out, or when they if someone who's a fan of the characters read it and all that, they'll probably be interested in seeing it. Plus also too, I think it's interesting because it goes back to how it's filmed. So if you're a person who's a fan of film, you're going to look at the different ways they film stuff in the show, which again, to me, I think it's great, the choices that they've made. You have that classic, like when they're doing the whole cheesy sitcom that we all know and love, they're filming in that, just like that. But then when they get to the really serious tones, then it's all of a sudden the camera work changes, the overall tone changes, the way the lighting changes, just that overall feeling. You don't have those laugh tracks anymore. Then it's like when you get the moments of introduction of color, like the toaster. When you look at the toaster, the red light is blinking. When you look at the helicopter, you have the red and the yellow. When you look at the blood, and it's like, I think as far as it goes, being fans of like the old stuff, I don't think that'll capture the younger people, but I think it's more of just the storytelling aspects of like, okay, what's going on here? This is weird. This is, okay, this is interesting. And that's why I think they also released both episodes, was to catch people. because like I said before,
Yeah.
my catch was the end of that second episode. I was like, oh, okay, this is why you released 2 back to back. I got you.
Yeah.
As I said earlier, I think if this is someone's first go at the Marvel universe, they will be turned off. But Marvel has spent the better part of a decade training or retraining an audience how to watch movies, how to view more serialized storytelling across like many movies, and to be patient with things. So if you're a fan already, I think they'll stick with it. I think for a lot of these, I'll say kids, because that's who we're kind of talking about at this point. I think they're going to look at this, the way this is filmed and the way the stories are being told, and they're going to be blown away by filming styles that they haven't seen ever, and to them it's all brand new. To us, we've seen this. We know exactly where this, it's a one camera film. We know that it's simply on a tripod, just standing right there, until something intense happens. And then when that intensity happens, it goes to almost like a handheld cam, and they bring it in like a more of a tight shot and a more almost like, the Dutch tilt, something along those lines. How wild was that back in the 60s Batman? So they're seeing things here that they've never seen, and they're probably like, wow, this is some amazing camera work. This is some amazing filming. And people like us who have studied this stuff are just like, dude, they're just copying something from Nick at Night.
Yeah.
So I think the patience of the Marvel audience is going to do well to have those little nods, those little things like, not everyone's picking up on those deep cut references, but everyone's picking up on a Tony Stark helicopter sitting in a bush and trying to figure out why it's there and why it's in color, more specifically. Why the blood? Why is that in color? The blinking dot again. If you want to go with the 2 worlds or the buns in the oven, as Teddy so kindly put it. I think the Marvel audience is patient enough to know there's something deeper going on here, and you have to stick with it to find out. I also think that the attention span of a child is like 5 minutes, so releasing 1 episode a week is smart.
Mm-hmm. We don't get the binge watch age anymore.
Well, there's
We don't, and these episodes are like 23 minutes long, which with fucking 10-minute long credits with no stinger. So Marvel's got me trained. I'm running through all these credits expecting to watch something. I'm like, come on, it's been like 20 minutes and like it's a 35-minute show. Like, what is this? But so like, the point of the youngins, I guess, of what we're doing. I feel like a lot of people now, kids, teenagers, young adults, are really appreciative of how things are made. And I think the creative process of how the first 2 episodes was super like top notch and paid a lot of homage to what we did in the past. They filmed in front of a live studio audience. And, they mentioned that they were very nervous about it. So I thought that was really cool. And it wasn't just kind of added in there for cheesy effect. They really did it. And then the practical effects they used for Wanda and her magic and moving all the props around, that was all puppeteer work.
Right.
It wasn't like CGI or anything like that. So like, yeah, this may not be what you're used to in television, but like seeing it for, Jay, what you had said, and like seeing something in a way you've never seen before, but then also going, looking and be like, holy shit, like they made this to make it feel, and it wasn't just a cop out to add some sort of audio or to add some CGI. Like they really put the work in to make you feel in there. I think
and then
people appreciate that.
There you go.
Yeah, and then the big use of CGI was when they broke that 4th wall, and Vision did that tracheotomy on Mr. Hart there to remove the the piece of meat, or the Neo move that you guys.
Listen, he did his thing, but before because I got one more question for you guys before we close up. I want to go over some quick stuff real quick too, which again goes back to the introduction in part 2 in episode 2, which when we were in the supermarket, there were 3 ads in the supermarket. One was Wonder Oats, which was a reference to Wonder Man, who in the comics was his consciousness was transferred to Vision, Scarlet Witch's first love. We had a reference to Bova milk, which was Bova the bovine, who raised Wanda and Pietro on Wendigo Mountain, which again we had the high evolutionary reference. And then Agnes's cat was referenced because Agnes Harkness has a cat named Ebony. That was also referenced to that scene. But what sitcoms would you guys like to see them tackle if you had to pick for WandaVision? We'll start with Teddy.
I definitely want to see where the whole Agatha story arc is going. I think that they set that up pretty clearly. Well, to the initiated anyway. But I'm pretty excited to explore where that is going.
Well, what sitcom? What sitcom would you like to see them tackle?
I'm sorry.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I was letting you run with it, bro, because that was cool. I want to know that too. What sitcom would you like to see them tackle? Like in what era?
Well, I guess if we're sticking to the 60s and 70s, I think we're going to be seeing the Brady Bunch pretty soon. But what would be really just out of left field is to see something based on the Monkees. Have just break into song. Or get Partridge Family if they're going to have kids.
Jay, which one would you pick?
Well, I wasn't sticking with the 60s and 70s, so I was going with either Different Strokes or Alf. Alf would be funny. I went straight to the 80s.
You know who would get us off? Would have Rocket make an appearance. He plays Alf.
Now you're catching on. That'd be awesome. That'd be funny.
Kip?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I think for the 80s, I was going to say, was it Family Ties, the one that Michael J. Fox was on, or maybe Growing Pains? Those were the two I was thinking of for the 80s. For the 90s, I think it'd be funny if you saw them in the Friends set, with the two apartments. Now they're apartment living in New York City, getting closer to where the home base was for the Avengers headquarters, things like that. But I mean, that's
any more of a machine.
Yeah, Wanda's drinking out of a Central Perk mug. I mean, I think I'd get a kick out of that.
Just recreate and have the Friends cast come in too. There we go. Tone, what sitcom would you like to see them tackle?
So I was thinking Alf, just because of trying to hide Vision and what he's doing and trying to go out there in everyday life, but also kind of diving in to the nosy neighbor and using some sort of maybe Home Improvement or something like that, because really diving into Agatha, just kind of really just forcing yourself into Wanda's life.
The nosy neighbor, you'd have to go with just Family Matters.
I mean, there's so many too. I mean, there's so many nosy neighbor tropes and trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Even the one in Bewitched, she's always trying to figure out what the hell's going on in the house.
He picks Perfect Strangers. He wants Vision to be bulky. I was gonna say Family Matters because I want Tony Stark to make an appearance and he plays Steve Urkel. There we go. Did I do that?
He did do that. He made Vision and his weapons went on top of Wanda's house.
All right, so we're at that hour, guys. So go. I want you guys to plug each and everything that you guys are doing. We'll start from my left to right. So Kip, we'll start with you. Plug away, brother.
My Twitter and Instagram is at Francis Kip STVNS, like it's displayed. My Facebook is at Francis Kip Stevens. For all your pro wrestling needs, come check me out. I travel the world in my underwear, sometimes on national TV. If COVID lets up, I'll probably be in more towns, but until then, I'll just have shows being canceled on me and being upset about that.
Jay?
So you can find me, Jay Huwer, on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Right now, I'm working on a couple of Kickstarters for upcoming comics. Hopefully some local shows out here on Long Island, New York will kick back up. You can catch me usually with Kip over there at a table and at these events. But check out my website, jasonhuwer.com, and get in touch. Let me know what you think about my books.
And Teddy Ghul. Let's go, brother.
All right. So you can find me on Instagram at TeddyLong87. And I'm not doing too much right now, but I am working on getting a crowdfunding thing going because I'm planning to donate my hair to charity. Because as you can see, it's getting a little unruly.
Cool.
And
why?
No, I'm not going to do Locks of Love. I hear bad things about them, but
okay.
I'm I'm looking at Books for Kids right now, but also maybe doing a little crowdfunding for a little added donation to them. So I think it's a good cause, and
Nice.
I'll let you know. I'll give you updates on how that's going. Oh yeah, and the whole idea is that I'm going to do a little cosplay for promos to get it go to get spark interest in it too.
Cool.
I think Pete is trying, because Pete is the resident booker here, and I think he's trying to book everyone for a tag match. We'll leave it to Pete.
I am going to put myself over right now. Teddy, I will carry you to the top. The top of my back. I am going to be the silverback of this team. I got you covered. You cut the promos. I'll do all the work.
He's going against something. So, guys, I want to let you guys know. I want to thank everyone for coming. Here we go.
Here we go.
Uh,
Oh yeah, let me tell you. You and me, we're gonna be the mega powers. Oh yeah, let me tell you what. We're gonna climb to the top of that mountain and we're gonna rule all that we can see. Dig it!
The Tower Power, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey. Oh yeah!
As everybody who's at this point watching the episode, you gotta follow these guys, Jay, Kip, and Teddy. They do some awesome stuff. And yes, Pete wants to see Evil Kip. But guys,
You couldn't handle Evil Kip.
I gotta go to one of your shows, bro. I can't wait till they come back, man. All I gotta say also too, guys, don't forget to check out the D&D podcast every Saturday, the Medusa's Cascade. I play an asshole named Kyver. Tony plays an awesome paladin who's out there for justice named Galahad. Trust me, it's the asshole show, so we got this. And you catch us here every Tuesday. This Friday, new episode comes out featuring Star Ryu. We get to talk to Miriam Yu about her art, Twitch, and everything. So this has been another awesome episode of Nerds Around. Again, guys, peace and love, happiness, and we are out.